Welcome to my podcast, You Are More. I'm your host, Amy, and I'm excited to be here with you today. I want to talk to you about your perceptions. My dad always says perceptions are reality, right? Perceptions. How do you perceive things? How do you see things? Because it becomes your reality. And I want to talk to you about the powerful impact of your perceptions in your life. They're powerful, guys. They're your dictators. They're guiding you and directing you. They're causing you to walk one way and do one thing one way because of how you see things. I always think that whoever's listening to my podcast is a leader. You're a leader. That's who you are. That's who this podcast attracts. It attracts leaders, leaders in every industry. It attracts leaders, entrepreneurs. And I want to talk to you about a story because I feel like we're kind of could be in the same kind of a thing. And I want to talk to you about a man named Moses. Moses was an interesting guy, right? He had been leading this people through this wilderness for 40 years, and they get to the promised land. And he says, God tells him to send in 12 spies, send in 12 people, one leader from each tribe to go in and spy out that promised land. And I think it's important to recognize that these were leaders. They had navigated through difficult things. They obviously had big vision. They were leaders. They could see possibilities and problems. They were leaders. He sends 12 out. 10 of them come back with a report saying, wow, there are massive giants out there. We're like grasshoppers in their sight. 2 of them come back and say, yeah, there's some challenges out there, but they come in, they bring this massive size grapes and fruit, and they're like, man, this is a land flowing with milk and honey. This has got so much in it that we are well able to go and possess. We are well able. Here's the scary thing, guys. Like this can be said of us right now in what we're walking through in the economy across the country and across the nations, across the world, right? So in my industry, you can look at the giants and say, wow, interest rates have popped up a bit. Inventory has lightened up a bit. Economic instability, people are kind of like, what's going on? You could say, wow, it's going to be too hard to possess it. Yet we know that in every kind of a recession, I'm not saying we're in a recession, but there's indicators that that's where we could possibly be headed, that in a recession, that's when more millionaires are made than in any other time in history, is in those difficult times. And I think that we can look at our life and we can go, it's back to perception. So I want to take you back to Moses. I want to take you back to the 12 people. And I want to take you back to the fact that only 2 people, Joshua and Caleb, they don't even mention the others' names, guys. They were leaders. They'd been walking these tribes through. They were leaders, but they didn't even get their name mentioned because they looked at the opportunity and they withdrew. They looked at the opportunity and said, oh, we're too small. We're not able, and we're not going to be able to do it. Only 2 went in because they said, you know what? There's giants out there. There definitely are. Oh, yeah, there's problems. But you should see the opportunity. You should see it, and we are well able. That belief of being well able and the perception of being it, that we can possess it, is the difference maker in so many people's lives. So many people don't accomplish what they want to accomplish in life because their perceptions are that they are not able to do something. Their perceptions is that the giants are too great, right? We are in this time frame right now where we are in a time of great transition. They used to say that information doubled every 25 years. Information now doubles every 24 hours. We are in the most transitional, exciting time to be on the earth. I'm so thankful I'm here. And I'm thankful that you're here too. But we are living in the most transitional, exciting times. And with that being said, boats rock, things shift, things change. It's going to be how you perceive it. And sometimes how we've done things doesn't work that same way anymore. And you can perceive that because, all change initially does feel like loss when oh, this isn't working, that's not working. It can feel like loss. It actually does feel like that, right? But when you have to shift and do things differently because of your perceptions that you're well able, you're going to see provision open up to you. So here's what I can tell you. As you are walking through this time in your life, look at the obstacles in your life. Look at those giants and ask God to replace the lens that you currently look through with the lens of faith, with the lens of hope, with the lens of possibility, and ask Him to show you how to navigate it, how to walk it out, because He's faithful to do that. I know that this time when I listen to people, I have to kind of keep shaking it off me because their fear can get on you. Their discouragement can get on you. My discouragement and my fear can get on other people. Like we kind of have to shake the rug off every once in a while. Like, okay, whew, I'm dusting off the fear. I'm dusting off, the anxiety. I'm dusting it off. I'm shaking it off because I understand it's how I perceive things. It's how I see things. That's what I'm going to possess. It's so critical, guys. How you perceive and how you see things is going to determine if you enter in to your best days. It's going to determine if you enter in to fulfill all you're called on this earth to fulfill. You've at anyone on this earth, you've got God's just got such an intricate plan for your life. But will you fulfill it? Will you walk it out? Will you be the best in your industry? Will you be the I always ask myself, well, am I going to be the best in the real estate industry? Am I going to serve people at the highest level? Am I going to seize opportunity? Am I going to grab a hold of all the things in life that I possibly can and literally not lay around and be lazy with it, but take all advantage of all opportunities? That's all going to be dependent on how I see things because amidst all that opportunity, it's wrought with trials and tribulations. It's wrought with problems. There's so many possibilities in your problems. It's how you perceive it, though. When you understand the possibilities that exist within your problems, it gives you the power to walk through those problems and overcome them, create new ways of doing things, and be victorious in your circumstances. It actually gives you the ability to possess. So there's a song we used to sing, I think like I used to work at a daycare when I was a kid, and we say, "Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see. Oh, be careful, little eyes, what you see." So here's the thing. It's because what you see creates vision. What you see creates what where you think you can go and what you can do. So it's so critical that your perceptions sometimes we have generational iniquities that cloud our perceptions. Maybe it's that your family has always been you didn't come from any kind of money in your life. You came from a family that always struggled. Everyone in your family struggled. Maybe you came from a family that no one in your family went to college. Maybe you came from a family that divorce was rampant and that's all you know. And there's never been anyone that's like literally, they've all divorced. Whatever it is, sometimes iniquities cloud that, and an iniquity is a bent towards something. Sometimes they cloud our perceptions. You perceive the world in that way, that iniquity, that bent towards something. You perceive the world in that way and it skews your perceptions. So this is something I'm a practical tactical person. I like to go practical and tactical. I think that the Bible is the greatest leadership book, life book on the planet. And I 100% believe that. But sometimes we have to just take our perceptions, and I wash my perceptions in the blood. I wash my perceptions. I wash the way I'm seeing things. And I ask the Lord to be my help, to be my ability to perceive things different. I ask Him, be in me what I cannot be. Be in me my perception. Be in my ability to perceive and to see what you want me to see. Give me that extra sensory. Give me that extra special vision. Sharpen let my spiritual eyes take over, that I see how you want me to see it. Guys, if we just look around and we listen to the news and and we listen to the paper and we hop on Twitter and we hop online and we consume and we consume and we consume all this stuff, all this content that's out there that's constantly barraging us, it is negative on 90% of the time. But if you want to live a positive life, that's not where your perception can go. That's not what you can dig in and take into and consume because then all your perceptions become consumed with that. If you hang around someone who comes to you and all they're talking is, we don't have this, we don't have that, we don't have this, and we don't have that, guess what starts to happen to you? You start to go, oh, and you shrink back. On the inside, you start to go, yeah, that's true. You're right. Wow. You're right. I don't know how we can do it. What was I even thinking? How are we going to do this? And you just start wringing your hands, right? And here's what I can tell you, creativity is not going to flow to you when you're in that zone. Creativity is not going to flow to you when you're in the mode of fear. Creativity is not going to flow to you when you're anxious and wringing your hands. Creativity flows to you when you know what? My best days are ahead of me. God is going to lead me out of this. He's opening a way before me. The crooked places are being made straight, right? My path is getting brighter and brighter. The right people are coming into my life. The right opportunities are knocking on my door. All those things that you have need of, you have to start to believe that they're coming forth, because when your perception shifts and you look out and you're not looking at the fact that, oh, interest rates are high. Oh, there might not be as many houses on the market. Oh, economic instability. Oh, all those things. When you stop focusing on those things and your perception says, huh, there is significant opportunity in this kind of an environment. And you start to think with possibility, the world shifts. You start to act different. You start to approach things different. You start to do things differently. You start to walk with a different energy and a different passion. You're not double minded anymore because you see the possibility, you see the opportunity. So I want to go back. 12 leaders, two entered the promised land, the others did not. The other 10, because their perception was that it was too much for them and that they couldn't do it and the giants were too big and they were like grasshoppers in their sight, they never got to go into the promised land. They never saw it. They never saw it. They wandered in the wilderness for 40 years and never saw it. Guys, some of us can look at our life and say, wow, I've had some wilderness seasons. I've wandered and I've wandered and I've wandered. We've all had seasons like that where we've been in the wilderness. It feels like, I'm just on the backside of the country, just tending to my sheep and just doing my thing. And I'm just out here and it feels like I'm in the wilderness. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of living my life because I'm kind of just, it feels dry and barren. We've all been in those wilderness seasons, right? But it's so critical that you begin to shift your focus onto the possibilities in your life. So I would take an account of where you're at in your life. The Bible says an unexamined life is a frustrated one. That's a paraphrase, basically. So examine your life and see, take an account. Where do you see barrenness? Where do you need to have your perception shifted? Where do you see lack? Shift your perspective. Where do you see any kind of thing that would seem like not life, not enjoying, not life giving? Shift it. Ask God to be your ability to shift your perspective to see opportunity. This will be a supernatural thing. But guys, we are living in a time where there is a living God who wants to, on the inside of you, reveal to you the hidden things of darkness, reveal to you the pathways that you're supposed to walk in that will bring great provision to your life, that will untie and undo the things in your life that you feel like you can find no way out of. And there is a scripture in the Bible where it says, and again, I always go practical with the Bible because I think it's such a it's the greatest life book out there. And it's this. And it says the people shouted, "Grace, grace, grace." They shouted, "Grace, grace, grace." There's so much power in your words, power in your confession. They shouted, "Grace, grace, grace" to their mountain. And guess what it says? Their mountain became a molehill. What do you need to shout grace to? What area of your life do you need to just start to shout grace, grace, grace? What mountain needs to be dismantled in your mind? What mountain needs to be dismantled in your relationships? What mountain needs to be dismantled in your finances? What mountain needs to be dismantled? Start off by shouting grace, grace, grace to that mountain. And the word says that they shouted grace, 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 and that mountain became a molehill, right? So just think where your perceptions lead you to. You're analyzing those things. Ask the Lord to shift your perspective, that you'd see a new day, you'd see a new thought, you'd see a new way. Guys, here's the thing, the real estate industry is changing drastically. And it has been. Like, I've been in this business for almost 30 years, and I've seen the most change in the last 3 years than I've seen in the past 15 years. Like, it's been significant. The consumer client needs have shifted, and everything is different. And I can either stay in my ways and just look and say, well, those good old days are gone. Well, this has changed and I guess that's just the way it is and this is how I'm just going to have to withdraw and draw back and change everything. Or I can choose to embrace it and I can choose to dig deeper and I can choose to make a further commitment um, to daily activities. I can choose to see it in a different way. And here's what I can tell you today, as my team and I knocked on doors, guys, I started my business doing that. That's how I started it 30 years ago. I knocked on doors over and over and over. And today, as we walked outside and knocked on doors and I met people and talked with people, like, I found so much joy in it, and I'm like, I am back to the basics in every company I'm talking to, every leader I'm talking to, every industry I'm talking to. It is back to the basics of human connection, of things that make a difference, of human impact, and just doing what you did. It's all the technology and awesome is all great. It's scalability, it's all that. But it's back to the basics. And I had so much fun going back to the basics. Now, I could sit in an ego position and say, well, I've done all this, I've done all that. I shouldn't have to go do that. No, you either shift and see the opportunity that's out there and take hold of it and possess it, or you don't possess it and you go backwards and you don't enter your promised land. I'm not willing to do that. I'm like, well, we're going to do whatever we need to do because we're moving forward and we are well able. So I'm going to challenge you today to look at your life, ask God to cleanse your perceptions, and literally let the mantra of we are well able to go and possess this land be your, let it be your anthem. I'm well able. I'm well able. I'm well able. I'm well able. When you walk around well able, energy starts to come to your body. When you walk around saying I'm well able, creative thoughts come to your body. They come to your mind. When you say I'm well able, guess what? You are well able. Things start to shift when you keep affirming you're well able. And those mountains and those obstacles, or those perceived mountains, those perceived obstacles, start to shift. Speak to the mountain. Sing, O barren. Speak to the mountain. Grace, grace, grace. And watch your mountains become a molehill. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. As always, we're coming to you every week with encouragement to live the you are more life. Because remember, you're created for more. You are more.